All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Duplace here. I'm in with my last video for the night. I recorded all 6 of these in one go with breaks in between. We're checking out I might buy a Steam machine. Here's why. Let's hear Garrett's perspective. I'm really considering one too. Anti-cheat is literally the
So,
only
of
thing
course,
stopping
when
me.
I'm not
Let's
making
go.
videos because I'm busy literally moving halfway across the world, Valve drops what I would say is probably the worst kept secret in the PC gaming space, which is the Steam Machine. And I gotta say, looking at what they've announced so far, I'm probably gonna buy.
I wonder how strong the magnetic plates are. I love how small it is. If I'm traveling, I could stuff that in my bag and get pretty reasonable
One.
performance.
Let me explain why. So
Capsule
first
Corp
off, if you
t-shirt is
follow tech
cool too.
history enough, especially niche stuff, first off, welcome. You're probably gonna like it here. But also, you've probably seen something like this, or this. And this is a finished product. This is the Alienware Steam Box thing. It was basically Valve's attempt at a mini
You know, it's us when you call it the Steam box thing. So unambiguous. So ambiguous. I said unambiguous. I used the wrong.
PC partnership
Yeah,
with,
let's
in this
continue.
case, Alienware Dell. And this is a prototype. This is a prototype of the Steam Machine, or the Steam Box. We didn't really get a name for it until just when they announced this one, but it was a showcase of what small form factor console-like gaming could be with a very, very old version of SteamOS. And of course, most of them were sent out to developers or reviewers and then brought back and destroyed or wiped or whatever the case may be. But some of them have made their way to other corners of the internet, like Bringus Studios. And I think LTT got their hands on one as well, but I can't remember if they got it to boot or not. Anyway, this has been something that's been
I see the GeForce
floating
or
around for
graphics
quite
card
a
in there. I
while,
saw
and
that.
Valve finally pulled the trigger on it and dropped this little gaming cube, and I absolutely love the design. Like, this thing literally looks like a Steam version of like the old Power Mac G4 Cube, which is like my favorite computer of all time. But the first things I want to talk about though are performance, because Valve has made some pretty big claims, two of which are 4K at 60 FPS using FSR, and that this thing is going to be 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck. So yeah, let's break that
Yes,
down. Some of
sir.
the specs Valve showed off, this thing's going to have an RDNA 3 GPU with 28 CUs, and it's going to have a Ryzen 4 6-core 12-thread.
Like I've said with the 6 times the power of the Steam Deck graphically, because that's the benchmark that they usually do the performance comparison on the graphics, because it's a handheld PC. I said handheld, it's not a handheld, it's a gaming PC, so it's gonna be judged mostly on its graphics. So they're gonna prioritize the GPU or everything. 6 times the GPU throughput. The Steam Deck is 1.6 teraflops. And the 6 times that is 9.6. So that the the Steam machine is 9.6 teraflops. The PS5 is
CPU.
10.28.
It looks like these are both going to be soldered down, so no upgradability, but it is interesting that instead of using a single APU like they did on the Steam Deck, they actually went with a dedicated GPU and a dedicated CPU, which also means that instead of
I mean, that's not surprising. They don't have the confines of battery anymore. Even though I'm aware that the new consoles have
sharing memory across
APUs.
the whole system, this thing's going to have 16 gigabytes of system memory that, from what I've seen, looks like it is going to be upgradable, and 8 gigabytes of dedicated video memory, which brings up one of my first concerns. The reason the video memory is my first concern is because my PC back in America had an RTX 3070 in it, and that had 8 gigabytes of memory. But when you turn up things like textures and other graphic quality,
He's
you're
definitely in
really
Japan.
bumping right up to the top of that 8 gigabytes of memory. Like Halo Infinite, or hell, even Red Dead Redemption, could just eat up all of that memory like it was nothing. So that really doesn't bode well for 4K, because, not to mention, my system was eating up all that memory playing at 1440p. So I get that they're going to be using FSR, and that's sort of a helpful process, but it's not going to really resolve the memory problem once you're out of it. I think Valve's intentions here are that you can get that 4K 60 FPS if you turn some of the graphics settings down and lean more heavily into FSR upscaling. But even though the graphics memory isn't upgradable, which we'll see how that goes based on games that can actually play at 4K with decent settings and decent frame rates, it is cool that this computer seems to, from what I've read, have upgradable system memory. That is going to be a big deal for longevity. If you can take this thing from the factory 16 gigs to 32 to 64, especially considering this thing's running SteamOS and can go onto the actual Linux desktop, that is going to be super cool for longevity. So good job there. It's probably going to be SODIMM slots just considering the form factor, but either way, still a win. System storage is also
Yeah, more than
upgradable,
likely.
so out of the box it looks like you have two configurations, 512 gigabytes and 2 terabytes, but this thing looks like it takes pretty much just any standard NVMe SSD, so you can go 512, 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, doesn't matter, just throw it in there, and if it's NVMe, at least as far
And we can get 2 to 80 now, so we can go up to 8
as it seems,
for
it's going to
cheaper.
work just fine. You also have USB ports up front, USB 3.0 ports, and a micro SD card slot. So just like on the Steam Deck, you can slap an SD card in there, micro SD card in there, and you're able to play games right off of it. And I think that's actually going to be pretty cool considering you're going to be able to take like a micro SD card library of games, plug it into your Steam Deck, take it on the go, come home and plug it into your Steam machine. I love that circular integration. Like I use Apple stuff. I love when everything just kind of works together. This seems like that's going to be something
Together,
along
yeah.
those lines. So I love it. The I/O selection around the back though is a little more interesting because you have USB-C, which is just universally helpful 99% of the time. You can do whatever you want with that port, but you also have two USB-A ports at USB 2 speeds. My best guess is that Valve is intending for people to use those ports for peripherals like mouse and keyboard, where USB 2.0 speeds aren't really going to be a problem, but it's just kind of weird. I would have loved to see more USB 3.0 speed ports on there, whether it be A or C, but whatever. I get that they're gonna go in for the console space, and things like the Xbox and the PlayStation didn't exactly have a wealth of ports, so it is what it is. There's also an Ethernet port, which of course is always welcome. Being able to plug into a network instead of using Wi-Fi.
Necessary
always another option
even.
for downloads and playing online. But if you do want to use Wi-Fi, this thing does have Wi-Fi 6E. There's also, and this kind of blew my mind, a power supply built into this tiny little box. Like, this thing is small, and they managed to fit a power supply inside. And then the last two ports are an HDMI 2.0 port, which there's some weirdness around that one. It seems like it supports the newer HDMI standard, but that standard isn't classified or certified under Linux, so they can only call it 2.0, but whatever, because the better port is the DisplayPort 1.4 connection. That is going to be the one that I will probably use, but it is nice that you have both options since of course they're gunning for the console space as well. So with all those specs out of the way, let me talk about why this system is most likely going to be what I buy to replace my gaming PC that I had to leave in the US. I'm at a point right now in my life where I'm kind of consolidating as much stuff as I can to be as efficient as possible. So when it comes to things like work, if I'm on the go and I need to do some work, I have my MacBook Pro. If I'm at home and I need to do some work, I do it on my Mac Studio. Why? Because I can pick them up or I can turn them on and I can do the work I need, close everything when I'm done, shut it off, put it away, and I know that when I come back and I press the power button again, it'll just go right back to where I left it. And the same thing goes for gaming. I have two gaming handhelds right now and a gaming PC that, well, I don't have right now. That's
Steam Deck and
the US, but
RGLI
here's my
Xbox.
point. One of my gaming handhelds and the gaming PC that I left in the US are both running Windows. Now, when I go to play games, when I would play games on my desktop or when I go to play games on my, in this case, ROG Ally, I gotta turn it on. I gotta wait for Windows to boot up. Once Windows boots up, I gotta pick my games. Well, my games are in Steam, so I gotta wait for Steam to load up. Once Steam is loaded up, then I can wait for the game to load up. Then I can play the game, and at that point, the baby's crying, baby needs food, mom's needing me to help with dinner, and so I turn everything off and I didn't get to play my game. And I don't want to hear, oh, well, that's just the handheld, or oh, you're not using Windows right. Look, I have been Windows certified for years. I have been fully Microsoft certified literally for years. And this is just how Windows is when it comes to gaming, booting up, general use, because Windows functionally just works like that. But when I pick up my Steam Deck, I press the power button and the game that I was just playing is still open and I can just start playing games. And I'm not playing sweaty Call of Duty lobbies and Warzone. I'm not doing anything that has an anti-cheat that doesn't work with SteamOS. So I would rather get 5-10 minutes of gaming in little sections that I can just turn on, play, turn off, put away, instead of using all of those 10 minutes to wait for the system to boot up.
And you see, that's what I'm waiting on with the Xbox FSE. I'm waiting on Microsoft to just like perfect Windows to SteamOS levels, and then I'll cash out on
Xbox
Ally.
Update and needs to install stuff. And if that's what Valve is bringing to the desktop gaming space, I am 100% here for it. If I need to stream a game, for example, I'll plug the Steam machine into my capture card and run the streaming software through my Mac Studio. But if I want to just play a game, I'll just play on the Steam Deck or on the Steam machine. That is it, because it is so convenient. And I think that's what a lot of people who are considering buying this machine are looking for. They're looking for convenience. They want to get away from Windows and all the crap that comes with that. They want to get away from the constant updates, the waiting for it to boot, the crashes, the inability to turn the machine off with a game open or a game paused and then come back and resume where you left off. They want something that is a console experience with a PC gaming library and PC gaming performance. And that definitely seems to be what Valve is doing here. The last thing—
the case, yeah. Anti-cheat is literally our only issue. And I think the only solution to that is for SteamOS to just keep getting more and more popular. Maybe when it hits like 30% of PC market share, which would probably take years if it ever happens at all, then they'd consider. I remember Tim Sweeney, the CEO of Epic Games, said that once it gets like tens of millions of users, then it would make sense to support it. So
we're going to have to wait and see, of course, is the price, because we don't know what that is yet. And that's kind of terrifying, because they said that it will be priced like a competitive PC. Now,
like a
if
PC
this thing is $700-800, I think that's pretty reasonable. If it crests $900, that might be getting up there in terms of, you know, what I would say is reasonable for this kind of hardware. If it crosses into $1,000 or more, then that's going to be a tough sell, and I'll probably have to not go with that. But considering where I'm at in my life right now, where I want a gaming device that is just a gaming device and I want work machines that are just work machines, I am definitely really interested in this machine. I wanted to talk about it because of that, but
so am I.
I'm curious to know what you all think about this machine. Do you think it's overhyped, underhyped? Do you care? Do you not care? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're at it, maybe hit that like button on the way down there. Subscribe if you like this kind of content and want to see more stuff like it. I've got a video coming out soon about how I
made it through the 6 videos. My God, I feel horrendous.
More traditional watches, and how much more fun that's been than just wearing an Apple Watch every day. So definitely subscribe if you want to see that. Also, huge thanks to the members of this channel. These folks help keep the lights on. They help keep things going even when things get a little slow around here. It's $3 a month. You can join the membership program. You get a bunch of different stuff, as well as wallpapers. I'm posting a bunch of wallpapers, which is fun. And of course, you get discounts to my store, which we're slowly working on revamping. It had to be put on pause while I moved, but it's coming around. So if you want to do that, maybe.
All right, anyways, the video's been ended. I'm done. I'm tired. Goodbye.